The microphone squealed when my father tapped it, impatient, like he owned the air in the room. Champagne glasses were already raised. My sister's wedding had that polished, expensive glow, white roses, soft lighting, laughter that sounded practiced. "I want to make something clear," my father said, smiling too widely. "From today on, I no longer have a daughter named—" He paused, then said my name anyway, slowly, so everyone could enjoy it. A ripple of laughter followed. Not cruel, not kind. Just relieved it wasn't about them. "My name is Clara Whitmore. I'm his eldest daughter. Or I was." I stood near the back, half hidden behind a column, because I'd learned long ago that being visible around my father meant becoming a lesson. He went on, enjoying himself. Talked about legacy. About disappointment. About how blood didn't guarantee loyalty. Then, like the final punchline, he announced he'd sold the company. The one I'd helped build quietly for years. "Everest Holdings," he said, lifting his glass. "They made an offer I couldn't refuse." More laughter. Applause even. I felt something strange then. Not anger. Not humiliation. Just a calm, so sharp it scared me. I stepped forward before I could reconsider. Smiled, because that's what people do when they're about to be misunderstood. "I should introduce myself," I said into the silence. "I am Everest Holdings." And for the first time all night, no one laughed. For a few seconds, the room didn't react at all. No gasps. No whispers. Just the low hum of the sound system and the clink of someone setting a glass down too hard. My father stared at me like I'd spoken in another language. "That's not funny," he said, forcing a chuckle. "Sit down, Clara." I didn't. My knees were steady in a way they'd never been around him before. "I'm not joking," I said. "Everest Holdings is the parent company. I'm the managing partner." Someone near the head table finally turned. Then another. I could feel the attention moving, slow and cautious, like people checking if the ground was safe to stand on. My sister avoided my eyes completely. That hurt more than the laughter had. My father recovered fast. He always did. "This is inappropriate," he said. "You've had too much to drink." I smiled again, smaller this time. "Ask your lawyer," I said. "He's sitting 2 tables behind you." That's when the first crack appeared. Not in his face, in his posture. A tightening. A recalculation. Because the truth was, I hadn't planned to say anything tonight. I'd come to support my sister. To stay invisible. But being erased publicly does something to you. It reminds you exactly why you stopped asking for permission in the first place. And as my father turned, slowly, to look for his lawyer, I realized the wedding had just become something else entirely. His lawyer didn't look surprised. That was the detail people missed later when they retold the story. No widened eyes. No confusion. Just a tired exhale, like someone realizing a meeting had arrived sooner than expected. "I'll handle this," the lawyer said quietly, standing halfway. My father waved him off, sharp and embarrassed. "There's nothing to handle." But his voice had shifted. Less theater. More caution. Guests were pretending not to listen now, suddenly fascinated by centerpieces and half-eaten plates. My sister's new-in-laws watched with polite discomfort, the way people do when wealth and family start misbehaving in public. "You don't own Everest," my father said to me. "You don't own anything." "That's true," I said. "I don't own it. I control it." That distinction finally landed. Years ago, when I left the company voluntarily, he told everyone I wasn't cut out for leadership. Too quiet. Too soft. What he never realized was that I didn't leave to disappear. I left to build something he couldn't touch. The silence stretched. My father glanced at the lawyer again, this time without the authority to stop him. "Sir," the lawyer said carefully, "we should talk. Now." My father looked back at me, eyes narrowed, searching for the daughter he used to manage. He didn't find her. And for the first time, I saw fear replace control. They stepped away from the head table, my father and his lawyer, their conversation reduced to tight mouths and stiff nods. The band kept playing, too cheerful, filling the space where whispers wanted to live. Someone laughed a little too loudly near the bar, then stopped when no one joined in. My sister finally looked at me. Not angry, not confused, just wounded. "You couldn't wait?" she whispered when I passed her. "I did," I said quietly. "For years." She looked away and I let her. This wasn't the moment to explain the difference between stealing a spotlight and refusing to be erased. My father came back alone. His face had settled into that familiar expression, calm, superior, practiced. He leaned toward the microphone again, but this time the room didn't lean with him. "This is a private family matter," he said. "Let's not ruin a beautiful evening." That word, ruin, almost made me laugh. "You already sold the company tonight," I said. "Publicly. You don't get to decide what stays private now." A murmur moved through the guests, no longer amused, no longer distant. My father stared at me, realizing too late that control only works when people agree to give it to you. And tonight, no one was agreeing anymore. I didn't feel victorious. That surprised me. Standing there, surrounded by flowers and soft music and the quiet judgment of people who'd just learned my family was not what it appeared to be, I felt something closer to grief. Not for the company. For the years I'd spent trying to earn a place I'd already built for myself. My father pulled me aside near the hallway leading to the restrooms. His voice dropped, urgent now. "You planned this," he hissed. "You humiliated me." "I didn't plan tonight," I said. "I planned my life." He scoffed. "You think owning some paperwork makes you powerful?" "No," I said. "I think not needing your approval does." That was the moment I saw it, the shift. He wasn't angry because he'd lost the company. He was angry because he'd lost the story. The one where he decided who mattered. I could have pushed harder. Could have said more.
Part of me wanted to.
But another part, the calmer, smarter part, knew timing was everything. So I stepped back. Let the night continue. Let the truth sit where everyone could feel it. Because the real consequences weren't going to happen here. They were waiting for daylight. The fallout didn't explode that night. It unraveled. By the time the cake was cut, my father had disappeared from the reception. His chair sat empty, napkin folded neatly, like he'd stepped out to take a call and never come back. People noticed. They just pretended not to. I left early. Not dramatically. I hugged my sister, told her I loved her, and meant it, even if love between us had always been complicated. She nodded, eyes glassy, and said nothing. That silence followed me all the way to the parking lot. The next morning, my phone filled up. Board members. Former colleagues. One message from my father's lawyer asking to clarify the transition. I forwarded it to my own counsel and went back to making coffee. At noon, Everest Holdings released a routine statement confirming the acquisition. No names. No drama. Just facts. The kind that can't be laughed off. My father called that evening. I let it ring once.
Twice.
Then I answered. "You blindsided me," he said, voice hoarse. "You sold the company without asking who was buying," I replied. "That was your choice." Silence stretched between us, heavy and unfamiliar. For the first time, he wasn't ahead of me, and he knew it. We met a week later in a conference room that no longer belonged to him. Same building. Different power. My father sat across from me, hands folded, posture rigid. He looked older without the authority he used to wear so easily. "This didn't have to be hostile," he said. "It didn't have to be public either," I replied.
He winced at that.
Not because it was untrue, because it was accurate. He tried negotiation next. Framed it as reconciliation, as concern, as legacy. I listened the way you listen to someone explaining a version of events that no longer includes you. When he realized I wasn't going to argue, his voice sharpened. "You've always needed to win." I shook my head. I needed to stop losing. That ended it. He left without shaking my hand. I stayed, reviewing documents that now bore my signature instead of his. No ceremony. No satisfaction. Just finality. Outside, the city moved the way it always had, indifferent to family drama. For years, my father had believed disowning me was a threat. Now he understood something different. It had been a gift. and I was finally free to accept it. The wedding photos went up a month later. In every picture, my father was smiling, but standing just a little apart, like someone already being edged out of the frame. People commented on how beautiful the night had been, how elegant, how memorable. No one mentioned the silence, the pause, the moment the room learned a different truth. My sister called me one evening while I was still at the office. "He's telling people you planned it," she said quietly.
I didn't, I replied.
I prepared.
She didn't argue.
That was how it ended, not with apologies or admissions, but with clarity. My father stopped calling. Not out of dignity, out of limits. He'd finally found one he couldn't talk his way around. Everest Holdings kept growing,
Calmly, predictably.
without his name attached to it at all. Sometimes I think about the girl I used to be, standing at the edge of rooms, waiting to be acknowledged. I don't feel angry at her anymore. I feel grateful. She left when she needed to. She built quietly. And when the moment came, she didn't shout. She simply stood up and told the truth. That was enough.